electricity users in Johannesburg can breathe a sigh of relief. A proposed monthly electricity surcharge has been withdrawn. The City of Johannesburg had planned a surcharge of 200 rands for prepaid residential electricity users and 400 rands for business users. The fee was supposed to kick in July. The city says it'll instead go ahead with a planned tariff increase. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by Jolidi Matongo from the City of Johannesburg. A very good afternoon to you, Jolidi, and thank you so much for your time. Obviously, the first question from myself, and I would imagine from Johannesburg residents, is why was there even a surcharge to begin with?
Well, the users who are on conventional electricity system are already paying a surcharge. They are paying towards the maintenance and repairs of the network of our electricity network. But those on prepaid electricity, we are not charging them equally as those that are on the conventional meter. So the issue was that if we are all to be receiving electricity as residents of the city, including businesses, we should all be paying towards the maintenance and repairs of the network. Hence the suggestion of a surcharge for those who are in prepaid electricity system. So that basically was the idea. But the reality of the situation is that after public consultation, we thought that the public cried out to us as a city to say the economic conditions as they obtain now in the country and as such that they cannot afford more and more charges or tariffs that are levied against them.
Mr. Matongo, the city will now go ahead with a planned tariff increase. What does that mean for the average Joburg citizen?
Well, we are proposing at the moment a tariff increase in terms of property rates, a 2% increase. Last year we were at a 4% increase, but this time around we are saying we need to increase at least by 2%, taking into account the economic conditions and the effects of COVID. But also on water, we are also saying we need to increase by 6.28% to ensure that the costs that are involved in terms of delivering water to the residents are covered by the city. But also electricity, we are standing at a 14.59% increase, which is really what NERSA has granted Eskom to charge. So it's a charge that we are just passing through to the residents. We are not putting extra charge to the residents on the electricity because we understand that the economic conditions are not so great.
I'd like to get your thoughts on outages that have been happening in parts of the city. I know just this past week there were protests Konaledi in Soweto where residents were complaining about outages in their parts and saying that it's been happening for a number of months and that some of these outages are actually planned. So, for example, at 5 o'clock they know that that's when they're not going to be having any electricity. What is the reason for the outages that are happening in parts of Soweto?
Well, Soweto, as it were, is supplied by Eskom. It's not supplied by us as City Power. So Eskom has got its own challenges in terms of maintaining the network, but also the whole problem of illegal electricity connections in parts of Soweto and all other parts of the city is really a problem. So Eskom would, from time to time, plan the maintenance of its network. So, but we are currently in negotiations with Eskom to make sure that all the residents and businesses alike within the City of Johannesburg are supplied by City Power. So we are in talks with Eskom to ensure that we take over the supply of electricity for all our residents and businesses in the city, so that we are responsible as a city for the provision of electricity, as it were.
Mr. Matongo, you're saying that the withdrawal for the surcharge was following consultation with the public and therefore hearing that the public is crying about the fact that we're already going through so much as people in this country thanks to this pandemic, and therefore we do not need to be having such things as surcharges. How far does the city go in terms of consulting its residents when it comes to making decisions like we're going to withdraw the surcharge, but we'll, of course, then look into a tariff increase? How far do you go in the decisions you make as City of Joburg in hearing the people?
Well, we started around April with community-based planning sessions where we consulted widely with the residents. Because of COVID, we couldn't have public meetings. We had the meetings virtually. But also now in the month of May, we were involved in IDP consultation sessions where we're also discussing the tariffs with the residents, and those meetings, some of them were held in community halls, but also some of them were held virtually. So we have taken into account the cries of the communities as we were consulting them, but also we have created email platforms so that the residents can also send in their comments on the tariffs that are proposed by the city. So the consultation has been very wide. That's why we have come to such decisions to say some of the levies and the tariffs, we should not go ahead with them.
The surcharge has been withdrawn now. Can it be expected to be implemented at some point?
Well, that's the reality of the situation. If we are all receiving electricity, we should all contribute towards the maintenance and the repairs of the network. Not only those who are in conventional electricity system should be given the burden to contribute towards the maintenance of the network, but we are saying for now, given the economic conditions, because in terms of prepaid electricity, the majority of those who are on the prepaid electricity system are really the poorest of the poor. So we are looking at a situation where we have got to find ways to ensure that we don't continue to negatively impact on those who are already hardest hit. So we will be looking into the future. If the economic conditions improve, the charge may be brought back.
And just before I let you go, Mr. Matongo, I know you did mention that the Soweto situation is largely the responsibility of Eskom, but I mean, you know, as City Power, as the City of Joburg, there is some kind of, contribution that you guys make as well to ensuring that electricity is provided to the people of the city. In terms of the illegal bridging of electricity, how much work are you doing to ensure that that is curbed?
Well, we do have operations almost on a daily basis to identify those customers. For instance, at City Power, they have a system to detect if you are on a prepaid electricity meter and you are not vending or you are not buying electricity. The system is able to tell them that this particular customer is not buying electricity and he or she is on prepaid electricity. Therefore, they send out the teams to go on site to check if you have been, why have you not been vending or buying electricity? And in most instances, they find out the customer has breached the electricity and therefore they have to be disconnected immediately. So we've got a number of operations that we are running to ensure that we deal with illegal connections.
Mr. Matongo, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. That is Jolidi Matongo from the City of Johannesburg.